Hi, and welcome to the President's Forum podcast, where we explore critical issues in higher education. I'm your host, Wesley Smith, and I recently sat down with Kate Smith, president of Rio Salado Community College, to talk about artificial intelligence. I think you'll find that Kate is very dialed into this innovation, and her approach is very thoughtful. Here's our conversation. President Kate Smith, welcome to the President's Forum podcast here on Election Day. Good to have you.
Woo! Thank you, Wes. Really excited to be here. Really excited about Election Day. Hoping for record turnout of voters, and let's all have our civic duty and our civic voices heard.
I couldn't agree more. I love Election Day. I've loved it for many, many years. And some election days I've been closer to elections than I am this year, but I can guarantee you all night tonight, I know where I'm going to be in front of the TV watching.
Yeah, Wes, they're with you and probably most of America.
Right. I mean, it's fascinating what's going on,
Yes.
but there is a buzz about Election Day, and
Yes,
I love it.
I couldn't agree more, truly.
I love it. Okay, so today we're talking the future of higher education, and I hope that we can talk about the future of higher ed and artificial intelligence specifically more accurately than I think we could talk about the election results tonight, because who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But let's talk AI in higher education. I mean, there are so many implications to artificial intelligence in our world today. And specifically, we'll talk higher ed. And I want to know first, what are the opportunities that AI presents to institutions like yours and to students out there all across the world if we can harness artificial intelligence? What are the opportunities?
Yeah, I think the opportunities are endless. So maybe that sounds a little cliche-ish, Wes, but I really do. But as I share some of those opportunities, and I'm assuming at some point we're going to talk about some of the concerns too, I do want to just validate that there are real concerns and there are real opportunities. And just as people who are listening and in these discussions, to make that space that those are all really valid fears and really valid opportunities in front of us. So with that context, I guess, the opportunities in higher ed to personalize. I mean, AI can be so instrumental in building the way we personalize curriculum, the way we can personalize to students' questions and real time what their needs are, the way we can make use of AI to help us with our curriculum development and speed our process so we can meet the speed of industry, right? There's a lot of opportunity there, a lot of opportunity with student supports, that we can kind of revolutionize maybe some of our kind of maybe a little more on the archaic side of like transcript review and sending transcripts. And I think there's just so many operational pieces that we can look to figure out how we make use of AI in some new ways.
When you say personalize education, with AI, I mean, what does a new level of personalization, what could it look like into the future?
Oh, do you really want me to go here?
I mean, I find it really fascinating
ideas.
that we could target students specifically, and they could get delivered the help that they need exactly at the time they need it, like immediately.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. So there's the whole idea of AI tutors, right?
Right.
One of the things that we had talked about a few years ago that was like, how are we going to make this happen? And now with AI, we can make it happen, was within a student who engages in one of our courses. For those who don't know, Rio Salado College offers pretty much weekly class start dates in an asynchronous online model. They never have to cancel it. So a student can just sign up anytime and start a class on the next Monday. In that model, then everything we do is built around supporting that student in their learning journey.
Right.
And so the opportunity that AI presents, that we were trying to think through, how could we, have real-time intervention? So a student's writing a paper. Now you have AI that can step in and say, oh, looks like you are quoting this. I think you need to cite it. Do you need help with how to cite it, right? So just those real-time, in the moment formative learning rather than it being summative after the fact, kind of penalizing
Right.
students, right?
Right.
And now go redo it. Use AI to help them on in that learning journey. I also think there's some really cool, although I think it's a little creepy at the same time. So I'll just put that out there.
Yeah.
But the
Yep.
digital twin idea. So you can have faculty with a digital twin and then an AI powered chatbot that learns all the content, all the curriculum in a specific course. And then you can use the digital twin and the chatbot to actually answer questions at 1 a.m. Like we know our students, their biggest uptick of time that they're in their courses between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. So
Right.
this gives them a face, a voice, real time, and of course they would know it's AI
Right.
generated, but it is you we could build it so that it's all verified, correct, the information is correct, the supports are real, and use AI to really help students.
It's
Okay.
interesting how we're talking about this because usually when we're talking about AI, we're talking about AI to assist, student learning. But there's a role for AI to assist faculty teaching,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? And tell us a little bit about the faculty support that you are thinking about. What does that look
Yeah.
like?
So, two things. One, just to say, we are actually already making use of some AI tools to do that kind of. We have a centralized course development. The faculty chair oversees it, but we have a whole centralized course development. So, there are tools we're starting to build and make use of to really help that process, which then supports the faculty member. The other side with faculty, I'm really sensitive to where faculty are at right now. I met with all of our faculty recently, and I just said, it's again that spectrum of whether you want it all to go away, you want AI to go away and not exist anymore, or you can't wait to make use of it at all times. Um, I think we don't know yet how AI is going to change how pedagogy and andragogy change, right? So the last general purpose technology, that's what AI is, kind of that once in a generation
Right.
technology. If you think of the internet,
Right.
right? When the internet first came out and you're trying to figure it out as a faculty member, right? We can look back and it significantly changed after the internet, right? So I think we're at that cusp, and I was talking with my faculty about this is such a difficult moment. It's such a difficult crossroads because we have our courses that we've developed in our assessments, and that's a lot of work to redevelop everything.
Right.
But we know we're going to have to. We want to maintain the integrity of learning, right? So when we
Right.
say, gosh, these students have learned this, like there's integrity behind that, which happens through our assessments, right?
Right.
So we're trying to balance how do we support AI use? How do we teach our students how to use AI? And but we're still so early, we're not sure how does it change what you need to learn from discipline to discipline when you have a co-intelligence now that exists out there.
Yeah.
And we don't know yet how it's going to change all the jobs, what the future jobs are going to be, what jobs are going to I mean we can see what some of the jobs that are going to probably end up going away are, but what are the skills that are changing that people are going to need?
We're
So
learning about
yeah,
massive scale disruption as we go.
I know.
So it's really hard to be like, oh, I know. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess it
yeah.
is as hard or harder than the predicting election results,
Yeah,
right? It's like, who
right.
knows?
Way to bring it full circle. Yes, that's probably very true, actually.
We're
But
all
it's
flying a little bit blind about the implications of AI in the workforce. And
yes,
and so, I mean, the workforce could change so significantly, it's hard to predict, which
right.
means it's hard to figure out what the usage would look like and what skills we should prioritize and what curriculum could look like. I mean, there's just so much disruption. I don't know
Yes,
how you can have a master plan on this at this
yeah.
point.
And Wes, I think that's where the empathy, being empathetic, is really important right now, and just really understanding and helping faculty feel okay about where we are. It's a really hard crossroads right
Right.
now. Like, let's embrace that, right? Let's own
Hmm.
it, and then let's learn together. And that's something that we're doing as an institution, right? Is we're doing some futures thinking. I don't know if you know Institute for the Futures. They have a whole science and body of work on futures thinking.
Right.
So we started taking some of their tools and using them actually as an institution as a whole at a college-wide events, just helping us really embrace how do we start thinking about the future that we don't know yet,
Right.
right? And how are we preparing for it? And how are we preparing our students for what's going to be pretty radical changes happening?
So let me transition from the opportunity, which is pretty immense, and let's talk a little bit about the risk.
Yeah.
What risks are you trying to mitigate right now in that AI could present to higher ed?
Number one, really thinking through the security side, right? Student data, personal identifiable information. um,
Absolutely.
as any organization moves into more and more use of AI tools, really trying to understand that security side, and making sure that that's a priority, right? We're
Right.
always going to be on top of the security side related to AI and AI tools and how we move
Yeah.
forward, as a sector in higher education, quite frankly, not just Rio Salado. Um, we're the understanding of what is biased materials, what are biases inherent in AI because of how the AIs were, you know, pre the large language models, they were trained differently and now they can train themselves. But those training materials were have lots of bias in them, right?
Right.
So just trying to really help all of us be aware, pay attention, and recognize that AI can have bias and it does have bias in it. Um, Also, that it hallucinates, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I mean, there's some pretty funny examples out there of AI making up some facts and figures for something that's impossible, right? I don't know if you saw the one about what's the record for walking the English Channel on foot. Did you ever see that one? Yeah,
I
somebody
didn't
put
see
that
that
one
one.
in and it answered and it gave the time, it gave the name of the person who did it, it gave the date that they did it. Right?
I,
And obviously, I mean it's, obviously a complete hallucination. So
right. Right.
so also helping, as we work with students and we teach them how to use like teaching what are the ethical responsibilities with this, right?
Right.
Um because you could do a lot of pretty damaging things with AI
Right.
too, like every technology. It can be used for really good and it can be used for some really negative purposes.
Yeah.
So, teaching how to use it and what the ethical guidelines are, we're really focused on. And we are working on developing a roadmap, artificial intelligence roadmap, so that we can think of all of the different buckets and components that we really
I
can be
like that.
thoughtful as we move forward over the next few years.
And a roadmap doesn't preclude iterations, right? It doesn't preclude. It
Exactly.
just says these are the big ticket issues that we're planning for, and of course, as we go and we learn more and we see the development, I mean, the development of AI over the last year has been amazing. I don't know if
I
you
know.
use it, but I'm a regular user and it's so much better this November than it was last November.
Yeah, yes, was. And that's the change, right? Like AI has been with us since the 50s. I think it was in 56 that McCarthy from MIT coined the term artificial intelligence, right? And I think artificial intelligence, when you read the research on it, has always been overhyped and
Yeah.
never kind of delivered on the hype, right? There's been this
It's
fascination
delivering
with it.
now.
Well, that's what the large language models have done.
Right.
And that's where I think everyone's like, wait a second. This is now happening and happening really fast. And is the Jetsons coming to life today? Or,
Seriously.
like all those things I used to read, like sci fi, is that all going to happen now?
Yeah.
So I just think I'm just going to say again, Wes, I think as we're in this moment and we embrace and learn and we want to be on the forefront, we want to be shaping how we use AI. We don't want it to shape us, we want to shape
Right.
it. Um, but we need to do it with kindness and empathy because it's overwhelming for a lot of people.
Right.
And I'm going to say one last thing, I'm sorry, but our students need to learn these tools
They
because,
have to.
when you serve adults, when you serve the most underrepresented students, um, to not teach them how to make use of these tools who's just going to
Education
build. Yep,
malpractice.
yep, absolutely. There's a survey on LinkedIn that showed 70% of employers said they would hire somebody with AI skills over somebody with more experience in the field.
I mean, we're at that point, right? You
Yeah,
have to. It is legitimately a handicap for anybody going into the workforce if they're if they're kept away from AI skills and tools.
yep,
You just can't compete with people who are leveraging that tool in the workforce now.
yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
I see it in the work that we do, and the in our organization, watching some of our best employees leveraging AI is saving so much time and energy and creating better work product.
Yeah, yep, yep.
So yeah, we've got to learn it. Okay, so I want to end with this.
Okay.
As a higher ed president looking to maximize benefit and mitigate risk, what have you learned so far in that process?
Mm,
Empathy, I'm hearing, is
yep.
is a big issue. What would you recommend to from your perspective to students as they're looking at AI? What do you say to them as they're trying to navigate a new world that has AI as a big component of it?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I would say to them what we just had a student panel. I'm going to tell you what our students said,
Great.
who were both very afraid of it, but using it.
Okay.
And really just that learn that it's not always accurate, but how to use it to help you. One of our students said, she uses it to explain these concepts she's not understanding. So she puts it in and asks it to explain it as if she's a fifth grader, right? And so they are figuring out how to use it. They need to know what's okay to do. They need some of those clear guidelines, and how to then check it to make sure that what they're seeing is accurate. But I would encourage students play with OpenAI, without putting any personal information out there
Yeah.
ever.
Good call.
Just on OpenAI, ask it to make you some recipes for dinner, right? Make a
Right.
shopping, like do some tasks so that they just start to learn and see what it can do, then figure out how to use it with their studies as a guide on the side, knowing that it's not always 100% accurate, and
Yeah.
never, never, never give personal information.
Great advice. Great way to end this interview. We're going to come back to this topic, I'm sure, multiple times
Yes.
throughout the year. And as we learn, and you know what? Next November, we'll probably be seeing incredible new models in AI and new applications. And we'll have to be open enough to iterate and make decisions.
Absolutely love it, Wes. And by then
Well,
we'll know who the president is too.
I hope by
Yeah.
next November we've got a good idea of who that is.
All
Kate,
right.
thanks for joining today. We
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thanks for your leadership at the President's Forum.
Thanks so much, Wes.